Greetings, thank you for lending an ear to the Voice of the Times for Saturday, October 2, 2021. For today's editorial, put the brakes on Parex. The groundbreaking last weekend for the 97 billion peso Pasig River Expressway or Parex project has ignited such a storm of controversy that any further work on the 19.37 kilometer elevated highway must be immediately suspended until a proper assessment of its potential impacts can be carried out. Through the irresponsible haste of Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade to make a political splash ahead of next year's national elections, the public's right to be thoroughly informed and consulted before such massive and potentially disruptive public works projects are approved was completely ignored. Evidently, the first news most people receive about the Parex was the announcement that Project Developer San Miguel Corporation or SMC had already held the ceremonial groundbreaking. The project would create a 6-lane elevated expressway and connect interchanges to existing roads along the bank of the Pasig River for virtually its entire length from Regional Road 10 in Manila to C6 Road in Taguig. According to SMC, the project will incorporate pedestrian paths and a bus rapid transit or BRT line and will be complemented by a separate 2 billion peso initiative of the company to dredge and rehabilitate the Pasig River itself. SMC and its leader Ramon Ang have proposed and created many big, innovative infrastructure projects that have had tremendous benefits for the people directly served by them and for the nation as a whole. The Parex, however, may not be one of them. To be clear, we are not necessarily rejecting the idea, but neither are we endorsing it. Drawing either of those conclusions would be premature at this point because of the government's failure to consult with its bosses, the people, before forging ahead with the Parex. In general terms, there are clear pros and cons to the idea of the Parex. On the positive side, it would answer one deficiency emphasized in numerous transportation studies of Metro Manila over the past 20 years, the almost complete lack of efficient east-west traffic routes in the metropolis. The additional project announced by SMC, which the company said it would maintain for 30 years to improve the Pasig River waterway, would also be highly beneficial, helping to reduce flooding and making the river more viable for waterborne transportation. It must be noted, however, that rehabilitating and maintaining the river does not require the construction of an expressway. While some of the criticisms of the project may be questionable, just like the project advocates, critics should also do their homework and present evidence-based arguments to support their position. There are some clear disadvantages to the Parex. At its western end, it poses a grave threat to the historical features of Intramuros, which have already been put under strain by the construction of the ill-conceived Binondo Intramuros Bridge, set to open in a few months. Likewise, the project will also cut through the Malacanang complex, which occupies both sides of the river. The project will also disrupt existing riverside neighborhoods in at least 5 cities, and additional areas where interchanges and connector roads will have to be built. And despite assertions to the contrary, the existence of the new expressway will increase traffic volume. It might compensate for that by providing a means for traffic to move more efficiently, but the traffic will nonetheless increase. There are hundreds of studies of road projects from all over the world that provide the evidence for this phenomenon, which is called induced demand. As of now, there have been reports that one or more groups are planning to seek the intervention of the Supreme Court to halt the Parex project, at least temporarily. If the Department of Transportation does not learn to read the room, so to speak, and put the brakes on the Parex on its own, we believe the Supreme Court's intervention would be prudent. This project is potentially too important and too disruptive to rush into being. It must thoroughly, transparently, and objectively review so that a proper informed decision can be made by all potential stakeholders, not the least of which are the millions of residents and business establishments along the highway's proposed route. And that's the editorial for Saturday, October 2, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to its digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and listen to the Voice of the Times.